Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of the Irish Readathon vlog. I badly needed to do a check-in because I haven't talked to you since I finished out the last vlog, and I have finished one book. I'm almost finished another one, and yeah, I need to update you guys. Have I been out and about with my hair done and my makeup done all day? Yes, I have. Am I coming to you now with no makeup on and about to go to bed? Yes, I am. So unfortunately you get tired, no makeup, yeah, plain Aoife. Um, but yes, updates. So the last time I talked to you, I had finished Long Live Evil, and I talked about that. And since then, I have started and finished Dinner Party by Sarah Gilmartin. This is one that I was really interested to read because I read Service by Sarah Gilmartin last year, and it was one of my favourite books of the year. This one is similar enough in style in some ways, in terms of it seems to me that she does like reading, or she does like writing books and characters that in some way there's like a connection to food there. However, I will do a very like big trigger warning for this book in terms of eating disorders. The main character in this book that we're following, her name is Kate, and we are following her through we know that there has been a loss in her family. Her sister had died, and at the very start of the book, like, her and her brothers are adults, and they've come like almost like over 10 years later, and they're kind of commemorating the anniversary of their sister's death with this dinner party. And then we're kind of flashing back and forth then from their childhood, and then kind of back and forth, and we're kind of finding out what happened to their sister, what happened to their family, the family dynamics, and kind of Kate's own relationship with the different members of her family, her relationship with her twin sister who died, and obviously how badly that has affected her. And most, one of the biggest things is, number one, her relationship with her mother, and then also her relationship with food, and they're kind of intermingled. But her relationship with food is very bad, and we do see some really bad disordered eating and kind of thoughts and stuff around eating and food, and like starving herself, like counting, like, kind of counting how many spoons of food she eats for the entire meal, like divvying up food between her and her siblings, making sure she always gets less, that kind of thing. So if people do have kind of maybe some trouble or don't like reading about that, that's in this book quite heavily. And we do see how a lot of that is affected. But number one, from her sister's death, it kind of like that's where it kind of spiraled from. But also, there's a very kind of toxic mother daughter, mother children relationship, I guess, in this book. Their mother is very kind of, I would say, like almost emotionally manipulative and in ways emotionally abusive towards all of her children. And we see how it has affected all of them. Um, and yeah, there was times it was hard to read because the mother is obviously not a nice character, and I wouldn't have had a lot of time for her, but then they do treat her like, they do almost feel sorry for her in a way, and they do kind of try and treat her as well as they can, but then a lot of it ends up being kind of like thrown back in their face. And yeah, there was parts of it that were hard to read just because of those relationships. It's just it wasn't nice. And then we do see like a majority of the book, we do see different ways in which our main character Kate is punishing herself through this kind of restriction of food, and just the mental health problems she's going through, and that, that she hasn't faced up to, from her sister's death to her mother, her relationship with her mother, how her mother treats her, has always treated her from like, her entire life, how her mother treats everyone else in the family. And yeah, but it's very, what I will say is, once I got into it, it took me a while to get through like the first chapter, which was like the initial dinner party, that I guess the book is named after. But after that, I felt like I flew through it really quickly, and it was a quick, fun read, not fun, but it was a quick read, and the writing was very easy to fly through, and I felt the same with Service, her most recent book. So I gave this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it, but as I said, there were parts of it that were dark. There was parts of it that were just a bit complicated. So yeah, and then I'm almost at the last couple of chapters now of A Ghost in the Throat by Doireann Ní Ghríofa. This is obviously a reread for me. I read this back in 2020 and absolutely loved it. My favourite book of the year. I haven't really stopped talking about it since then, but I really wanted to pick it up. I've been wanting to reread it for a few years anyway. But one of the reasons why I wanted to pick it up now is, obviously, I did share in my last vlog that I'm currently pregnant with my first child, so I'm experiencing pregnancy and the thoughts of motherhood, and kind of thinking about bringing a new little being into the world and looking after her, and Yeah, particularly I guess being mother of a daughter as well. And a big part of this book is Deirdre na Grífa's own relationship with her children, with her daughter, with pregnancy, being a mother, what that entails for her, like breastfeeding, kind of just all these ways in which being a mother is both beautiful and hard, and help like is almost there's a connection there to so many other women in your own kind of like matriarchal line, but also in history as well. And yeah, I really wanted to read that just to see how I felt about it. Now, there's obviously still some things in this book, such as the birth and those early days and breastfeeding and stuff that like I haven't been able to connect to yet, but it's obviously something I'm thinking a lot about. So, but I am really enjoying connecting with this again. It's just as good the second time round as it was the first time round, and I'm really enjoying my reading experience of this. So I'm probably going to get a little bit more of this read now tonight, and I'll see if I get to finish it before I go back home to Dublin or not, because we're going home tomorrow. So this is our last evening here. So yeah, I'm going to try and read a little bit more of that tonight before I go to bed. So that's my update. I wanted to update you guys on how I've been getting on with my reading. And I'll let you guys know when I finish this and when I move on to my next book. Guys, I am just in here for a check-in while I quickly do a little bit of makeup before I go out. I'm going to bring Rossi for a walk. And I just want to feel a little bit more human. I also got my hair done. As you can see, it's quite a bit darker than it was last time I talked to you a few days ago. It will go a bit lighter. I just wanted to kind of go for more like lighter brown. But because of the red, you have to kind of go dark before you go light again. So it will lighten up over the course of a few weeks as I wash it. But every time I see myself in like the mirror or even the viewfinder, I'm like, who's that? So yeah, it's definitely a change after over 10 years just being a redhead. Now I've been thinking about changing my hair for a while. I always wanted the red for my wedding, so that was the big thing. And then once after the wedding was done and everything, and I was able to like cut my hair and refresh my hair, I was like, if I'm ever going to change my colour, I might as well do it now. And then I was also thinking that once the baby comes during the summer, it's probably going to be harder to get to the hairdresser to like refresh my roots and everything for the red hair. And the red dye can make your hair like really, really dry, which you've probably seen in my hair a few times when it needs to be done. And I didn't really want to be like postpartum and then also having that like feeling not great like with my hair or anything. So I said I could do myself a favour, go back to the brown for a while, and then I can maybe after Christmas or something, or before Christmas, I can decide if I want to go back to the red or not. But yeah, I think a little change, a little refresh is good. Then my husband he was excited to see the brown, and then when he actually saw it, I think he was a little bit shocked at how dark it was. And yeah, because he's never known me as anything but with the red hair. And we've been together like 7 years. So yeah, there you go. So that's hair chat that you probably didn't even want to know. There's updates from me about my hair. I wanted to do a quick reading check-in because I have been reading. I've been reading Wild Houses by Colin Barrett. I don't know what is wrong with me that for some reason I was convinced this was called Wild Horses, and I also convinced myself that this was a horse and not a goat on the cover until I actually properly looked at it and I was like, that's not even a horse. So I don't know where I got Wild Horses from, but it's Wild Houses, and we are following a few different characters in this town called Ballina, in Mayo, I think Ballina is. And we're following a few like dodgy characters. We're following a guy called Dev who lives in a house on his own. It seems his mother has recently died, and he gets a knock on the door and his two cousins are there, and they have this like teenager with them. I say he's about like 16 or 17. And it turns out that this guy is the brother of like a local drug dealer who owes the guy, kind of like the big drug dealer or the big kind of gang guy that they work for, this brother owes him a lot of money. So now they've taken the teenage brother and they've kind of like locked him up in the house and not letting him go. And the guy we're following, Dev, in those few chapters is kind of like, this is kind of serious. Like they've literally just like taken this guy from the street, like what's going to go on? And then we switch and we're actually following the boy, his name is Doll. We're following his girlfriend called Nikki from earlier on in the night, and we're kind of seeing her relationship with Doll, her kind of feelings about his brother, kind of the dodgy stuff that's happening, and how like her boyfriend Doll is kind of involved in it in a way that like she feels like he shouldn't be. And it's just kind of like this at the moment, kind of like this slice of life kind of going about their day, the different characters they're meeting, the parties they're at, the drink and drugs they're taking, that's leading up to the moment where Doll is taken by these guys. So that's at the point where I am now, where Nikki has realised Doll is missing and she doesn't know where he is, and she's going to start getting worried now, I think, about like what has happened to him, where he is. So yeah, that's the point where I'm at. I'm enjoying the writing, fairly easy to get through. Like I think I'm 89 pages in and I'm on chapter 5, so I'm hoping to read to at least chapter 8 today, which is 59 pages. So we'll see how I go, and then maybe I can finish it tomorrow, or we'll see how much I get done later on. I am working today, so I'm just taking my break now. I'm going to go and bring Rossi for a walk, and she actually didn't get a walk yesterday, so she's been very good and very patient. So I'm going to bring her to the park as a little treat. But as I said, I just wanted to make myself feel a little bit more human. I definitely don't need any makeup to be just going to the park. Sometimes you don't do it for others, you do it for yourself, which is what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm going to do that and then get back to work and get back to my day, and yeah, I'll update you guys when I get further on. I am here to give you a Irish Readathon update. So the last time I spoke to you, I was kind of like a quarter of the way through Wild Houses, and I've obviously since finished that. I really enjoyed it. It's like 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really kind of this quiet, powerful novel. I think the character studies we got for the characters, and kind of this exploration of like loneliness and grief and complicity was really good. There was one particular character called Dev, who was like the character whose house has been used to kind of like a crime in a way, but it's not like, you know, like not murder or anything, but it's like a kidnap, and he's kind of just like thrown into the middle of it. And I think his POV was just lovely at times, and there were some really, really beautiful passages as well. Just keep an eye on her in the viewfinder. Yeah, there were some really beautiful passages as well, so that was really good. Yeah, a really strong 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely read more from Colin Barrett. I actually just wish it was longer. I did see some reviews saying that they thought it was like almost like a prolonged short story, and there were times that it did feel like that, but in like a really nice way as well. But I think I just was enjoying the characters and the character study, and I kind of wanted so much, particularly for Dev as well, that I kind of wanted to keep going to see how he would get on and to see if things would improve for him. And yeah, I felt like really close to him, so I really liked that. So and after that I went on to read I did finally finish Firefly Summer. That took a while. So I did finish that. I gave it like a 3.5 stars, I think, out of Nate Lynchy. It's not my absolute favourite. I think it was a little bit long, a little bit drawn out. I kind of wish that like there were some characters who were like so morally bad, while there was other ones that were almost so perfect. But again, you're with the characters for so long, you do end up like feeling a lot for them, and you want so much for them, and you get really, really like involved and invested in their lives. And yeah, to see kind of it's almost like a full circle kind of moment, from the moment like the American business owner comes into the town wanting to change things, to the end moment where we see how everything has ended up and for everyone. And how everyone is feeling, and in terms of happiness and stuff at the end. And yeah, it was interesting in terms of I don't know, I guess humans and relationships, and what people are content with, and you know, what really makes you a rich man at the end of the day as well, I think. And yeah, I did enjoy it. I think it's one that I'm going to have to stick with as well, to see if maybe I eventually can put up to a 4 stars. I don't know. I just felt like it just kind of took me a while to finish, even though I did have a week where I wasn't reading it when I was away, because I wasn't going on those kind of walks. I was with other people, so I wasn't listening to my audiobook. So yeah, isn't that right, Ross? Isn't that right? What are we doing? Come on, we go this way. So yeah, and then since then I finished 2 more books to round off the Irish Readathon. They were actually ones that I wasn't sure if I'd get finished. I finished them yesterday, which was actually the 1st of April, but I'm obviously just going to be counting them all in, because yeah, why not? So the first one is Brad Bridget, which is a non-fiction, and that was about kind of basically crimes and stuff that women did, particularly in America and Canada. Like Irish immigrant women, and it was things like, you know, getting arrested for drinking, murder, prostitution, pickpocketing, stuff like that. And there were parts of it that were interesting, and it was kind of mad to see, I don't know, like the amount of Irish women who were like doing kind of not great things, and you kind of wonder, was it like the situation, was it the cities that they were in? They were in such much bigger environments than they would ever have been at home. Yeah, like would they have fallen into the same type of like crimes if they had stayed in Ireland? That was kind of something to ponder while reading it. I did find that the chapters would start with like, you'd have like 1 or 2 women who were being focused on, and then the chapters would go off and like talk about more women who were involved in all these different type of crimes, and kind of give background and stuff and stats and data. And then the very end you'd go back to the women you started with, and sometimes because you'd already have gotten a bunch of names, it was kind of hard to be like, okay, which ones were these again and what exactly did they do? So it kind of felt a little bit kind of confusing at times like that. So it wasn't my favourite ever non-fiction book, but I did still appreciate it, and I appreciated the history it was telling. So I'm giving this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I still did enjoy it. It just, I think the reading style of it wasn't always as fluid as I wanted it to be in terms of remembering everything. And then the last book I finished last night was Postscript by Cecilia Hearn. I actually didn't expect to get this finished so quickly after Firefly Summer, but this is actually the sequel to P.S. I Love You, which obviously became like a big movie and everything. And in this one we're following Holly 7 years later, after her husband Jerry has died, and she's read his letters, and we see her get involved with something called the P.S. I Love You Club, which is a bunch of terminally ill people found out about Jerry's letters and kind of wanted to do the same thing for their families. And we see her get involved in that, even though she's kind of afraid of what it will do to her emotionally and kind of like mentally, in terms of being able to cope with it. And we kind of see her connect with these patients, and in ways of kind of working with them to do their letters, she kind of gets another insight of what Jerry would have been feeling, and why, some of the reasons why he would have done the letters he did, and why he chose to do it. She is just having a great time down here. And yeah, this was one that at the start I wasn't really sure of, because Holly was very prickly at the start, particularly with the P.S. I Love You Club, and I didn't blame her either, because it felt almost invasive that they would come over and almost like want to steal this idea from Jerry. And even though obviously like they have every right to like leave letters for their loved ones, but it was just the way it was done. It was so kind of, I don't know, it was just a little bit like, oh god, like out of nowhere for her. And I did understand her spikiness and her feelings and stuff. But the more the book goes on, the more like really heartwarming it gets. There are obviously moments where it's quite emotional, because you're dealing with terminally ill patients and people like, you know, they're kind of like their dying wish in a way, and what they want to leave behind for loved ones, and thinking about that, and it's quite sad. There was like a romantic relationship in this for Holly that I wasn't really like sold on, and I'd love to know what other people think if they've read this. But yeah, I'm glad how it all ended. I felt like it was a little bit rushed at the end. It kind of like there was a bunch of things like all in succession that kind of Rossi, that kind of, yeah, I felt a little bit rushed, but I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was sweet. It was a really nice read as well. Amy Huberman was the narrator of it, and she'd be quite well known in Ireland. And yeah, so that is everything that I've read the last few days. I'm actually reading another Irish book at the moment, but that's just going to have to be an April one. And it's a reread for me as well. I've read it before. So yeah, that is it for my Irish Readathon reading and my wrap up. You guys let me know what you guys have been reading. What was your favourite book of the month? I actually don't know what my favourite book was. Maybe Long Live Evil, because I just had such a good time reading that. It was just so much fun. But let me know what your favourite book was, what you've been reading, and how you're getting on. And yeah, I'll see you guys again next time. Thank you so much for watching as always. And I'll see you next time. Bye.